Sitting on the park bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. Hey, Aqualung, drying in the cold sun, watching as the pretty Peggy.
Mega Man 9 saw the return of the Blue Bomber in 8-bit form after a 15-year absence. So without much surprise, fans of the classic series wanted more. So 2 years later, Mega Man 10 would come to fruition, once again in 8-bit, and once again available for download via PS Network, Xbox 360 Live, and WiiWare. It makes sense to have another sequel. I mean, the series was freshened up, so you'd have to wonder what Inti Creates would have up their sleeves for another entry. Plus 10 is a more satisfying number to end the series on, providing, of course, they actually stop making these games. Either way, stopping at 9 would have felt like cutting a long journey too short. As you would expect, Mega Man 10 follows the formula of just about every single one of its 8-bit predecessors. 8 Robot Masters you can choose in any order, you grab their weapons, then the castle stages, and it's over. And for like the umpteenth time in a row, the storyline suggests that Dr. Wily isn't actually behind the evil plot, but I mean, come on, we all know what's happening here. At this point, I don't think they're insulting our intelligence with it. I think they're just humoring us, especially considering the storyline. The premise is that a disease that only affects robots is going around, and Roll is badly infected with it. The world is very dependent on robots by this time, so the fact that all these machines are unable to do the dirty work for the humans is causing quite a clusterfuck. I don't think this was intended as a cautionary tale, but that aspect of the story is actually quite interesting. Not that it's never been done before, but it's still a good foundation. But a robot disease called Roboenza, really? It's silly as shit, but it's actually more amusing than anything else. They could have definitely come up with something better, but the story of the Mega Man games are never really that deep or important, just a spice for the stew. And it's still better than Mega Man 6's story, so no harm, no foul. You can play as either Mega Man or Proto Man. Just like in Mega Man 9, Proto Man can slide, perform a charge shot, and block some attacks with a shield. But he takes more damage than Mega Man does, gets pushed back further, and can only fire 2 shots at a time. Mega Man can shoot 3. This time you don't have to buy Proto Mode, you start right off with it. But you do have to purchase the ability to play as Base, who can fire rapidly in 7 directions, but doesn't deal out as much damage and can't shoot while running. He does have a dash move, and can call upon his trusty dog Treble for assistance. These additional modes give you some replay value by bringing in some versatility, not to mention that it's just cool to play as Proto Man and Base. Other downloadable content features the Endless Stage, which, like the last game, challenges you to clear as many screens as you can in various mini-stages, as well as 3 special stages that are based off of Game Boy versions of Mega Man. There's also Time Attack mode, where you can see how you rank against other players online, just like an Endless Stage, not to mention various trophies for different accomplishments throughout the regular game. There are 2 difficulty modes, normal and easy, but you can unlock hard mode after beating the game. The store makes its return from the last game as well. Picking up screws throughout the game will allow you to cash in on items auto rigs up for you. All of these items were in the last game except for the new W tank, which will replenish the weapon energy for a particular weapon that you select. And they did away with the useless Roll costume item. One good thing they did was lower the prices in some of this shit. The guard power-up went down from 100 screws to 50, the Eddie call went from 50 screws to 10, now you might actually consider buying it. The beat call went from 50 to 20 screws, and the shot guard went from 50 screws to 20. I know it's kind of weird critiquing 8-bit graphics on a game in 2010, but I do have to say that it seems the graphics are a step down from Mega Man 9. They do a good job of making it look and feel 8-bit, but I don't know, some things just look too monochromatic. It's not a huge drop off from 9, but I thought that it looked a little more vibrant than this one. Another aspect that doesn't match up as well as its predecessor is the soundtrack. There are some decent tracks. I personally like Solo Man and Pump Man songs quite a bit, but even those I don't think I would rank in my upper tier of all-time Mega Man tracks. The music does have that Mega Man feel to it, but unfortunately there's more filler in there than there should be. Mega Man 10 isn't quite as challenging as 9 was, there aren't nearly as many crazy gimmicked spots, which is fine, but along with that, there wasn't quite as much creativity in the level design. Not to mention the comparatively mediocre Robot Master roster. I mean, come on, Sheep Man? Using wool to create static electricity is really your catalyst for an electric-themed Robot Master? Lame. Speaking of Sheep Man, he's the first robot I would choose. It starts out with mouse cursors that drag square-shaped panels that fly out either 2 horizontally and 2 vertically, or all 4 in either direction. Fire rapidly to clear them out of the way, but you're better off killing off the cursor to prevent them from even forming. Then take the rush coil up here to get some small screws. These platforms will disappear shortly after you land on them, but only by color. So go this way to get the extra life and hop to the right side to get the screws. You have to run on these treadmills to power up the nearby platforms. Just make sure the meter underneath each is filled up, because after you get off the treadmill, they'll drain, and once they're gone, the platforms drop. Go up this way for an energy capsule if you need it. Shortly after is a mini-boss. Use the treadmills to send energy into the light bulb while it sends these 2 slow-moving floating robots after you. Once it lights up, use the platforms to give yourself a good shot at the bulb, which will soon lose its power and you'll have to do it all over again. Just make sure you avoid the currents that get sent back and forth from the bulb while it's out. And leave one of these little bots alive at all times, because if you shoot them both down, they'll both respawn. You're better off avoiding only one at a time. Then there are some of the traditional appearing blocks. First, clear this platform down here and follow the blocks as they appear. It's a clear sequence. The next 2 spots are also pretty seamless. Just make sure you jump over the 2 that are above these 2 after they swap. Then make sure you leave this blue piece open down below so you can slip down for a W tank, and soon after a sheep man. They'll split up into 4 clouds that send an electrical current to the ground and split off from it. Avoid them, and the last of the 4 will send a spark all the way across the floor. Jump over it. Then Sheep Man will shoot a spark towards you. It could be really wavy or not so much. Try to distance yourself from him so you can see which one is coming and avoid it, and pump him full of plasma in the meantime. Eventually you'll take him out and get the Thunder Wool as your reward, an awkward weapon that sends a cloud out which fires an electrical current downward. So you really have to be precise with your perception of where the cloud will end up if you want to hit something that's stationary. Otherwise you have to wait for your target to move into the current on its own. It's not useful very often. One place where it is useful is against the next robot master, Pump Man. This level takes place in the sewer. Remember back in Mega Man 2's Wily Stage with the badly contaminated water? That was the most disgusting water Mega Man has had to swim in, until now. Pump Man's sewer forces Mega Man to travel through liquid shit. The poopy waterfalls from the pipes above will push you down, so any jump made from under these waterfalls won't be a very high one. Keep that in mind. These mets are not only unpredictable in when they open up, but they also fire a purple goo that won't do any damage, but it will cause you to slide around on the floor. It goes away momentarily, so just wait it out and fire constantly at the met to take it down before it can hit you. Now here there are 2 paths. If you take the upper path through the shitty waterfall, you'll find an extra life in this nook guarded by a met. You'll need the rush coil to get up there. Then you can either jump from platform to platform up top through the waterfalls, killing the mets, or you can stay down low. Just make sure you get your jumps up from the edge because the waterfalls will push you down. When you come back up, grab the screws. If you took the low path, you can still get there by using the rush coil through the waterfalls. Use the rush coil to get up here from either side to grab the screw, and after a series of mets and spiders, you'll reach the gate to Pump Man, which is where the 2 optional paths cross. If you take the other path, you'll drop into a sea of liquid shit, and there'll be a large screw near the suction cup block from the very first Mega Man. I'm surprised it took this guy so long to make his return. Then you'll have to let these bubbles take you in, and shoot your way out of them and guide yourself to the next area over the spikes. Don't let yourself get caught in one of these bubbles though, they'll take you right up to the spikes. Then carefully slip between the spikes and grab the E-tank. Pump Man's lair is mid-thigh high in liquid shit, which he'll pump through his body to form the water shield. He'll just jump around, hoping to make contact with you before leaping into the air, firing his weapon in all directions. Keep your distance when he fires so the projectiles are more spread out and easier to avoid, and fire off the Thunder Wool while he's on his way towards you. Even if he has the water shield running, it'll hurt him. In fact, it'll disable the pieces of the shield it comes into contact with, so that'll help you in not being hit. Repeat the process until he's destroyed, and you'll get the water shield. The bubbles that shield you will each pop whenever it makes contact with an enemy, so it becomes less protective each time it's used, and you can fire it off in multiple directions a la Pump Man. It's not great, but it has its use from time to time. Solar Man is the next victim on your list, and you'll realize early on that there are going to be some conveyor belts to deal with in this stage. This lamp thing that fires off a laser beam is a lot like Sniper Joe in that it's shielded off until it fires. Jump over its shot and fire away. These ducts will send a series of mini fry guys back and forth. Watch for when the opening presents itself and move through quickly, especially when they're above you. You don't want to be fucking around by jumping between them. Take out these little pricks that float around and multiply, and then run across this conveyor belt to get the extra life on the other side. Then there's a mini boss battle with these two birds. One will be up in one corner and the other in the opposite corner down below. The one on top spits 3 fire shots. Try to steer yourself between them and shoot the one that's down low. They'll switch spots vertically and repeat the process, and then fly across the screen horizontally in a blaze. Jump over them when they do this. Keep this going until they're both dead. When climbing this ladder, watch for the opening when the fry guys fly by and move on. Now here's where fry guys are a bigger pain in the ass. There are more of them, and the conveyor belts over liquid fire and other enemies don't make things any easier. Wait for the openings between fry guys. Remember that they're above and below you at the same time. And when the lamps are in your way, keep yourself in the center gap between the fry guys and only jump and fire after the lamp fires and when the fry guys have just made their transition. Use the rush coil to refill your energy up here if you need it, and watch the safe spots when the fry guys pop out. When you get here, there are fry guys on your right and laser lamps on your left. If you go up right, you have to deal with both, and heading left, you won't have to worry about the fry guys. But once you get to the top and grab the E-tank, you'll need Commando Man's weapon to bust through the barricade, which you don't have yet. So then head back down and climb up the other way, grab yourself a safe spot to fire at the lamps where the lamps don't fire and the fry guys don't cross paths with you. It's a tight squeeze, but you can do it. Soon after is Solar Man. He'll take long, slow jumps across the room and fire a spark downward that sends a solar blaze to both sides horizontally. Jump over these and don't get too close to him. He'll use the solar energy on his head to attack you at close range. But you do have to get close to him to use the water shield, so just watch out for when the shield is losing its power. It does some really good damage on him, so you shouldn't have to deal with him for very long, and you'll acquire the solar blaze, which, just like in Solar Man's attacks, sends a projectile out, which then sends a wave to both sides horizontally. It's effective and covers a lot of ground, but its rapid rate is weak. As is almost always the custom, a fire weapon has to destroy a water or ice-based robot master, and vice versa. So next up is Chill Man. The surface is icy, so watch your footing and shoot down these snowmen before they throw their head at you. It will fire off in a shot in 4 directions after hitting the ground. These big blocks of ice will crack if you land on them, and then break if you land on them again. You can also shoot through them, so just be sure not to break through above spikes in this area. The extra life in this spot is a bit of a trap, unless you have the rush jet at this point. In this case you don't, but it's not that big of a risk because the only thing you're really losing is the extra life you just picked up. It's easier to get in than it is to get out. That's what she said. Take the upper path here to grab the W tank and try to wipe out the suction cup guys before you take out the ice block behind them. You don't want multiple ones coming after you. These birds will drop rockets that fire towards you. Simply jump over them, and keep in mind that this Nook for energy capsules is a bit of a trap, as this big bastard will come by and crash through the ice, leaving a pit below. Access this at your own risk. Chill Man will skate back and forth, firing chill spikes into the ground to bait you into, as well as some on the wall, hoping you make contact with them. Try not to get too close to him either, as his shots can freeze you up, which is when he does most of his damage. Keep in mind that the surface is icy. Just keep yourself away from him as much as possible and fire away with the solar blaze until he's toast. You'll get the chill spike, which doesn't have a lot of range, but it doubles as a trap for oncoming enemies, setting up icy spikes. You'll also get the rush jet now that you've conquered 4 of the 8 bosses. Then you'll get a cutscene where Roll is still sick as shit. Dr. Wily announces that he's created a prototype for the cure, and once Mega Man has retrieved the pieces to the machine, they can mass produce it. Wily asks Mega Man before he goes if he wants some of the medicine to protect himself from Roboenza, which he refuses, asking him to use it only on robots who need it. Next robot on your hit list is Nitro Man. Toward the beginning, you'll meet old friend Sniper Joe. This time around, he'll fire 2 series of 3 shots each before pulling his shield out and jumping occasionally. Shoot him when he's vulnerable. Then you'll end up in a corridor with these trucks with spikes installed that come wheeling their way towards you. Jump onto them as they pass and keep running. You'll want to make your jump almost immediately after you hear the horn beep. They're infinite, so don't expect them to stop, and use one as a stepping stone to get a screw up here. There'll be another corridor like this shortly after, but they come from the other side. Here you can stay put and let it take you to the right, but you have to get off in time so you don't hit the spikes on the wall. Then there's another segment like this with them coming from the right again, but now they have a trailer on the back with some added height, so you have to jump twice. Plus there are spikes on the walls that these things try to drive you into, so you have to jump past them quickly. You want to make sure that you aren't just passing a wall as they come by or you'll die. So just get a feel for the rhythm and time your advancements. At the end of the corridor is an extra life you'll need the rush coil to get. There'll be yet another stretch of these trucks. This time they come from the left and they have the trailers attached. Use one of them to get onto this platform for some energy, and then use the rush coil to get up here and bypass some of this shit. And there'll be an E-tank waiting for you. Then you'll drop down to a spot with these timer bombs that guard some screws, a W-tank and an energy capsule respectively. Activate the ones with less time first and use the ones that have more time as a waiting spot until the others blow up, and then grab your shit. Nitro Man converts himself into a motorcycle and rides back and forth. Jump over him and throw some chill spikes to fuck up his ride, and a direct shot will freeze him momentarily. His wheel cutter attack will send a couple wheels up the wall that then fall back to the center of the room. Jump over them and keep yourself away from their path. Keep firing the chill spikes up his ass and you'll finish him off and get the wheel cutter, which will roll a wheel across the floor, but you can also hold it in place before dropping it to protect yourself from an attack, and you can attach the wheel to a wall and ride your way up. Next guy to take on is Commando Man, whose level looks a lot like Pharaoh Man's, doesn't it? These red mines in the sand will activate the crab-like robot into attack mode from under the sand upon contact, so try not to hit it with your weapon, and take out these overhead bombers. They'll try to activate them themselves. From here is a fork in the road. If you take the upper path, a huge sandstorm will come in from the left. It'll send you all over the place and you can't see shit. So make sure you stand in front of a wall so it won't push you anywhere, and wait for the storm to stop before moving on. Just keep in mind that the storm comes right back, so keep an eye out for more spots you can use as a safe zone. Watch out at these pits too. These assholes will pop out once you get close enough, so let them come up, kill them, then jump over. And soon after is where the two paths cross. If you take the other path, you'll hit a sandstorm area with some hard hats and a few of these assholes that pop out of the pits when you get close. The storm will come head on, so find a spot with a wall that you can run towards continuously or lay back against safely, and you'll soon hit the spots where the two paths cross. There'll be another sandstorm coming, but this one comes from the right side, and there are spikes in certain spots for the sand to threaten you with. Find a wall here too, but you have to run towards it the whole time because there are spikes lined up on the walls to your back. Remember to watch the pits for these cocksuckers. There's one more sandstorm coming from behind you, nothing you don't already know about, and Commando Man is just ahead. His pattern is quite simple. He'll jump into the air, fire off a commando bomb that'll change direction and come down towards you, and just as it lands, he'll crash into the ground, immobilizing you momentarily if you're standing on the ground a la Gutsman. Get out of the way of the bomb, and jump just as he lands, and fire the wheel cutter at him. Also keep an eye out for when he fires while standing. His bombs will go right into the wall, and the force around it can still deal you some damage, so try to keep away from the wall at this point. Keep wheeling his ass down until he's done for, and you'll get the commando bomb, which is basically a remote control missile, as you can steer it in midair for a couple turns, and the force from the explosion can do some damage too. It's an okay weapon, but you'd think it would be more powerful for a bomb weapon. Only two left. The next one is Blade Man. Spiders at the beginning will drop only when you get near them, and you don't want them to collide with you, so jump to bait them down and drop back, firing at them. Use the commando bomb here to break the barrier and get the screw. Then there's a scale you have to annoyingly jump back and forth between to get it to move across the spikes. Just keep your eyes on the enemies in front of you that'll try to interrupt your trip. Right after is a mini-boss of a castle. You have to destroy all three pairs of eyes. Take out the one in the middle first, and use the platforms that the castle spits out to get a boost up and fire at the other eyes. Just watch out for the cannons that fire at you, and don't let the platform smack you in the face cause it'll hurt you. Use the water shield to fend off these cretins on the stairways. Just don't let the axe come straight down at you. It'll break the shield, so attack it from the side. Another scale to travel on over the spikes awaits, but it's much easier to just use the rush jet. Grab the energy capsule under here, and Blade Man is right after. His attack pattern is pretty straightforward. He'll cling to the walls and ceiling, making a complete rotation, and sending triple blades at you from each spot before rotating, and then dash to the floor sometimes before climbing back up. Run to the opposite wall he's on when he's at the walls to slip between the blades, and when he gets to the ceiling, run towards the wall he just came from and you'll bypass the blades. Use the commando bomb to blast him, and when you take him down, you'll get the triple blade, which sends 3 blades upwards, and if you're jumping, it'll send them downwards. It's got good range and covers a lot of ground. Strike Man is the last robot to contend with. Early on, you'll arrive at a gate in the floor. Jump over it and get the screws. Just watch the spring-triggered robot on the right. The mini-boss is a Gutsman soccer net. Never thought I'd ever see that. A fist will punch a deadly soccer ball around the room. It's fast, so try to shoot it down or avoid it altogether. Then watch the fist, or double fist, as they pound the floor, trying to squash you. And then they'll raise up, and that's when you can shoot down the Gutsman head, and eventually take it out. These soccer balls will hover for a bit after you shoot them. Use it as a platform to take down this guy, and then you'll run into a whole line of them with spikes implanted on them. Fire as you run to get them out of your way. Carefully jump as you run underneath this set to get the extra life behind them, and then you'll drop in for another battle with the Gutsman soccer net. Except this time, there are electrical currents in certain spots, so keep an eye on those, otherwise it's the same strategy, aside from the fists moving in a different pattern. You'll hit another line of spiked soccer balls at the home stretch to Strike Man's gate, but before you enter, ride the rush jet backwards and grab the 2 big screws. Strike Man will throw the rebound striker at you, which will bounce around the room, and then he'll roll across the floor and is invincible in this state, bouncing a couple times. Use the triple blade. It'll wipe out his rebound striker attack and rip him to pieces. You'll get the rebound striker from him, which can be fired in 3 directions and bounce off the wall. It's pretty powerful and has some dynamics to it. So now that all the Robot Masters have been taken out, Mega Man returns and discovers he too has Robo-Wenza. The medicine-making machine has mysteriously vanished. Wily, as if he didn't fucking guess this from the start, reveals that the Robo-Wenza was his doing, and he offers the cure to any robots who will come work for him in his quest to take over the world, and he ends his transmission by sneezing at everybody. Roll offers Mega Man the medicine she never took. She was saving it for a robot who really needed it, so that turned out to be a good decision. Mega Man takes the medicine, and it's on to the next incarnation of the Skull Castle. Before you go through, you can still access the store, and you should have all the essentials purchased before you head to the castle. Stock up on as many tanks as possible, and make sure you get the guard power up. The energy balancer is great to have here too, because your weapon energy amounts carry over from level to level in the castle. Holy shit, that's a fucked up path right there. You'll start out outside in the rain, but right after battling a few enemies, you'll enter a gate and engage in a mini-boss battle with these 3 machines that each mimic the general patterns of Robot Masters of old. In this case, it's Elect Man, Gemini Man, and Wood Man. Use the wheel cutter on both Elect Man and Gemini Man, and use the triple blade on Wood Man. You already know the patterns of these guys. If you haven't played Mega Man's 1, 2, or 3, why the hell are you playing this one? So after taking them all out, you'll end up at this fork, and this is where the level starts branching out into multiple routes, hence the crazy ass map at the beginning. You can break open this chunk of rock in the ground here with the commando bomb, but first let's take a look at the left path. Some hard hats and this green guy, and then you'll hit yet another fork where you can blast through the floor or head left. Heading left will drop you through a gap with spikes all over the walls, and some Sniper Joes and shit. If you do blow up the blockade, it's a slightly easier path, just some bomb dispenser things and some spiders, and then you'll arrive at another gate, being held off by a timer bomb. You'll notice there's one on the other side too. To get there from here, you'll have to blow up the blockade back here at the first fork. It's practically a mirror image of the other side at first, until you get to the second fork on this side. If you go down the right side, head up these timer bombs and activate the one that guards the E-tank. You should be able to get on that ledge just in time. Then it's just a met, some spiders, Sniper Joe, and some other shit you've already seen. If you do blow up the blockade, you've got just these disappearing platforms and some power-ups down below, including an extra life, and right after that is where the paths meet and you're at the gate. This is yet another battle with mimicking machines, only this time you've got alternate versions of Ring Man, Napalm Man, and Flame Man. Use the Solar Blaze on Ring Man, the Rebound Striker on Napalm Man, and the Water Shield on Flame Man. After you take them out, there's still more to go. First, you'll walk through a winding corridor of these mouse cursors. The triple blade works good on them. Then you'll hit another of these areas with timers guarding a power-up. It's not hard to get this one at all. Then initiate the platforms to disappear, watching out for the spikes underneath, and grab the extra life at the bottom. Not long after that is the gate to one more of these battles, and this is the boss of the level, trust me. This time it's Slash Man, Frost Man, and Tornado Man. So now all 9 Mega Mans have a Robot Master representing them. Use the Chill Spike on Slash Man, the Commando Bomb on Frost Man, and the Thunder Wool on Tornado Man. And now you can move on to the next Wily Stage. There are conveyor belts out the ass. Watch out for this asshole that pops out of the pit, and take the lower path. It's much easier than jumping between the spikes on the belts. Plus there's an extra life down here. Then use the Commando Bomb here to get to the E-Tank below. Then you'll have a mini boss battle with these birds again. Use the same strategy as last time. Then these huge ass pistons will come crashing down. Wait for them to move back up before moving on, and use the Chill Spike to wipe out these spring bastards that'll make the waiting process more difficult. Then you'll have a mini boss battle with this light bulb fuck from Untitled Man Stage. Take him out the same way as before. Once you're done with him, drop to the right side to avoid the spikes in the middle, but hug the wall in the middle so you can grab the M-Tank. Then along the way, shoot through the ice cubes, but keep in mind that they could break underneath you and send you to your death. So don't land on them twice, and grab the extra life from in here. Shoot this thing's legs out from under him, and use his head as a platform to get to the ladder between the spikes. Then there are more of these pistons, but it's trickier due to the conveyor belts on the outside and the spikes along the wall. Pay attention to where you are before making your jumps, and don't take too long so the piston doesn't crush you. The boss is a giant robotic crab that'll fire its claws out at you, and then shield itself and spit out a shit ton of bubbles. Your best spot here is to stay below and let most of them travel over you. The crab's weakness is its eyes. Each one takes up half of its energy, so you have to destroy both. These platforms with spikes underneath will slowly travel from the left. Use them to fire the triple blades at the eyes up top, and jump over the claws when they fire towards you. Soon enough you'll take them out, and it's on to the third Wily level. At the beginning, you'll hop on this platform with 2 switches on each side. Stepping on it will shift the platforms to that side as it scrolls upward. Use it to maneuver your way between the spikes. Keep in mind that it's pressure sensitive. The longer you stand on it, the faster the platform moves up. And shoot the hard hats down on your way up. I recommend staying on the left side, because neither side really makes a difference until you get to the top when the opening is on the left. Then you'll slip into the water. Watch the spikes on the wall as you drop. You'll ride another one of these scales. Be careful not to jump too high here. Remember you're underwater and there are spikes on the ceiling and floor. After taking down these hammer daggers and grabbing the power-ups, you'll ascend another of these platforms with the switches. As you would expect, it's harder this time, although it's really not that difficult. Just stay in the vicinity of the center, shift your way to either side when the spikes show up in the middle, and then go back and take out the hard hats and repeat the process until you get to the top. Kill this mat up here so it doesn't give you the slippery goo. That's the last thing you need on these narrow platforms. Then slip down here and grab this extra life, taking out the lamp from a distance. Right at the gate to the boss, there'll be a blockade for you to take out with the Commando Bomb. Rush your way up and grab the E-Tank, weapon capsule, and energy capsule up this ladder. The boss is probably the most annoying part of the game. Much like the second to last boss in Mega Man 9, this is one of those yellow devil type bosses where the blocks come at you and put their shit together, and then take themselves apart again and all that. 90% of the battle you can't even hurt the bastard. Once it puts itself together, then you can hit the orb that floats into the structure to take its energy down. While the blocks are forming, keep yourself in this spot here. You won't have to worry about as much incoming bullshit, and remember that the pink blocks are safe zones. The purple ones are the blocks that will come from the wall. Use the rebound striker when it forms. What's good about this weapon here is that if you miss, it'll ricochet off the walls and you could get him on the rebound. Keep this painstaking task up until you wipe him out and move on to Wily Stage 4. Fill up on weapon energy at the beginning. Then climb up the left side, shoot the suction cup eyeballs, and grab the extra life in the nook. There's an E-Tank on the right side, but you can cross right over to it when you get to the top. Just grab the power-ups, climb down the right side, avoid the fry guys, get the E-Tank, and go back up and teleport to the Robot Master rematch room. The teleportation devices are all lined up the same way they are on the select screen. Interestingly enough, this is the first time this has happened. Go through the robots in the order of your choosing. If you're low on energy, pick someone you find to be easy. Don't blow any E-Tanks here. To use the same weapons as before, only this time use the rebound striker on Sheep Man, and when you take them all out, a 9th device will appear in the center. Dr. Wily shows up in another skull-themed ship, this one with a pirate's hat on. It'll just spit these long tube things out of its mouth and fire missiles from its back. You'll want to use the rockets as a platform and fire the solar blaze into the skull to drain its energy. It'll shift up and down. When it's up high, you don't want to try jumping, you won't make it. Once you take it out, as usual, Wily's second form comes through. It'll stay up high and hover back and forth, sending these orbs of energy down at you. Get away from it, and when he comes back down, activate the water shield and jump near him to make contact. Just watch out for the electric current he'll send your way, as well as this little compartment that'll trap you and send a shock up your ass. After dealing him enough bubbles, the ship will blow up, but of course he takes off in his little ship. So now it's on to the 5th and final Wily Stage. Holy fucking shit. Mega Man's ears must be popping now, this shit is high. Because of the lack of gravity up here, you'll get a mega jump in this level. Oh shit, remember these drills from Mega Man 2? Shoot them down and replenish your chill spike. For some reason, you're actually upside down in this level. Look at the logo at the beginning in the background, not to mention all the power-ups on the ceiling. Use the commando bomb to break through these barriers and grab the W tank. The level is really short, it's just more of these drills, an E&M tank, and you're at the gate. Wily is in one ship, while a decoy is in the other. It's easy to tell which is which, as the doppelganger has a noticeable discoloration and an arrow painted on his head, and the real Wily will sneeze from time to time. They'll both disappear and then reappear in another location. One pattern involves one of them tossing this energy ball to the other, which will then get chucked back and forth again while dropping its own energy balls. Jump over the shit towards either Wily so you can clear it on its way back too, and sometimes it'll come back one more time. The other pattern involves all these small energy balls that fire off in different directions one at a time and then come back to Wily right after. Keep your distance so you can maneuver your way between them. At any point where you get close to the real Wily while dodging all the shit, throw the chill spike at him. You don't want to hit the fake Wily or you'll get some dark energy up your ass. Wily only has one form here. Once you drain his energy, he'll beg like he has for years, and just as Mega Man is about to capture him, it turns out he's sick as shit and needs to go to the hospital. I guess all that sneezing wasn't just a head cold. Naturally, Wily escapes the hospital once he's feeling better, cause you know, it's not like the security on a mad scientist who almost took over the world wouldn't be that tight and he could just jump out the fucking window. But he leaves behind hundreds of capsules with the Robo-Enza vaccine. Don't know if he felt it was the right thing to do, that he owed it to Mega Man for saving his life, or perhaps he just knows that if all the robots die, then society will collapse and he's gonna be just as fucked as everybody else. I guess it's open-ended, and it of course leaves the door open for another sequel, but it kinda falls flat. It's a pretty lazy way to keep Wily on the run. Mega Man 10 is, like every other game in the series, a generally good, solid game. But it's just not as interesting as its last predecessor in a variety of ways. The Robot Master roster, level design, the story, it's starting to go back to that feel of treading water like around the time of Mega Man's 5 and 6. It's a good game, and it's fun to play, but when you stack it up with the rest of the games in the series, it falls somewhere in the middle of the pack. And if 10 is the final game in the series, which I can't say I honestly think it will be, then it all ends with a pretty subtle whisper, when there really should have been more finality to it. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.